I think I'm finally over her.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was season 3. Okay. Oh, that was weird. Oh, that was weird. That was not good. And that is what the ladies say about me. Okay. I feel like the ruined wedding cake is a visual representation of Generation Q. I had no expectations and yet I was still disappointed. That is the tagline to this show. Oh my god. Okay. Where to begin? Where to begin? First of all, were Bet and Tina even actually at their own wedding? Did anybody see them this episode? I think I might have seen them, but I'm not quite sure. So Showtime have kind of been promoting Bet and Tina's wedding as like this big event, and I feel like we as an audience were led to believe that this wedding was like some kind of big event and everything's been leading up to this and it's like a celebration of their love. And yet it didn't feel like that, like at all. Like they felt like an afterthought in this episode. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved the scenes that we did get of them. Like, I love those scenes. They've just, oh my gosh, their chemistry just, it is the ship that cannot sink, you know? And thank God they have that to fall back on because, my God. I adored their scenes. I was just left wanting more and I did kind of feel shortchanged. T-Bet is one of the most iconic lesbian couples, if not the most iconic lesbian couple to come from television. And this is how they were treated. Oh my god. Okay. I didn't expect the entire episode to be dedicated solely to them and to not have to look at any other characters. I knew that wasn't going to be the case. Obviously, there are other characters in this show, I understand that, but Bet and Tina have been like absent through a lot of season 3, so I don't think it would be unfair for an episode to dedicate a lot of screen time to them, considering like they haven't been around. Gigi also did not make a last minute surprise appearance. I guess that finale kind of like confirmed Gigi's exit or Sepeda's exit from the show, and that means they really wrote her out in episode 3, like in that way. Crying in a car was her last scene on the show. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh no. I really think Tasha was like the highlight of this episode in a lot of ways, because you could see the level of like emotion and depth in her scenes with Alice, and I was just like, when you get that level of like acting and connection in Generation Q, you're always kind of like taken aback because everything else is so kind of like mediocre 90% of the time. So when you get something like the connection between Tasha and Alice, you're like, oh my god, like it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And their scenes were really touching. Their scenes were really, really touching and funny, but like genuinely funny. And that's what happens when you have actors with like charisma and who are interesting to watch. Like it's fun to watch, you know? So Shane's hooking up with some random woman and she finds out this woman is married, and the woman tells her she's in an open marriage, and Shane acts like this is the first time she's ever heard of this concept, and it's like a kind of light bulb goes off in her head. And Shane, who is a grown woman who has definitely been exposed to other people being in open relationships, being polyamorous, acts like this is the first time she's ever hearing about this concept. Perhaps if they had allowed Shane to kind of grow and develop as a person, they could have introduced her to this fascinating new concept in season 1 of the reboot, and it may have potentially opened up some potentially interesting new storylines for her as a character. How would she navigate an open relationship? You know, that would be potentially interesting to watch. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but you know, but because they've kept her kind of so stunted, acting as though she's in her 20s still in this reboot, it's just, okay, I feel so bad for Ari. I feel so bad for Ari. My god. Dani is just a mess this episode. She's a mess. The writing was absolutely ridiculous for Dani in this episode. And look, I don't think Roxy's like the worst character I've ever seen on the show, and she's fine, like it's whatever, but I kind of just feel the same way about Roxy that I felt about Dre, as in like the chemistry is just, it pales in comparison to the chemistry between Dani and Gigi. Those are just the facts. And so it just wasn't really believable. It just wasn't really believable. And it was kind of like borderline cringy. Who the fuck sat in the writer's room and thought, oh, Danny has a piece of chewing gum, and then realizes she's over Gigi Gorbani? Like, just who sat there and came up with that? Like, I joke around saying they like pick things out of a hat, but what other scientific explanation is there for the characters acting in such a goddamn ridiculous way? Like, I just, okay. Speaking of picking things out of a hat, Pippa and Sophie like hook up, and considering it was clearly something that was like picked out of a hat, I didn't really find it that awkward. Like, they seemed to kind of just have like a bit of a natural connection between them, and like I didn't really mind them. I mean, it was just a bit kind of like out of the blue, and you know, it was just like, okay, but Sophie's not as annoying in these scenes with Pippa, so you know, that's new. That's new for me. There's nothing to really say about Mika and Maribel in this episode. I mean, the whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous. It's not believable in the slightest. I mean, they'd only just kind of like got together in season 2, and then there's obviously like a time jump between season 2 and season 3, and suddenly, like, without much discussion, Maribel wants a baby, and they don't even like discuss this properly apparently, which, I mean, okay. I just, no. I still enjoyed Bet and Tina's scenes. I mean, as I say, Jennifer and Laurel always have that like chemistry to fall back on, even when the writing goes very, very south. That's what we'll say. I especially loved when Bet gave Tina her cardigan, even though she was cold. Like, they were both cold in that fridge, and Bet was being a gentle woman, and oh my gosh, that woman has my whole heart. She does. The dialogue between Bet and Tina in the fridge scene was a bit like hit and miss. I mean, Bet was trying to remain positive, and then Tina starts like attacking her for being too positive, and I don't really know what like Tina wanted from Bet in that fridge scene, because historically Tina has had a problem. She's had an issue with the more negative aspects of Bet's behavior and personality, and she's vocalized that. But within this scene, she's kind of saying that she now doesn't care about, you know, the more negative sides of her, and she loves all of her, which is great. You know, that's very romantic, and I mean, they could both read the back of a cereal packet, and I would still enjoy it to some extent. But honestly, Tina's behavior does test me. Especially in this reboot, it just does test. It was like, what do you want from Bear? Like, what do you want from her? Like, you have an issue with, like, she's not acting correctly. Now she's acting too positively. It's like, what, like, oh my gosh, okay. I mean, whatever. I'm very annoyed that, you know, when they first start to kind of like appear at the wedding and they're ready to walk down the aisle, and I'm like really getting into it. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's immediately ruined by like this Shane and Tess drama, and like they couldn't just let Bet and Tina have their moment. You know, there had to be some bullshit interrupting it. I did suspect that Marja Lewis Ryan did not want the focus to solely be on Bet and Tina in this finale. I had suspected that, and I was kind of prepared for it, but it's still annoying. You know, it's still annoying she couldn't just let them be. Eileen also had a cameo. That sent me. What's interesting in this episode with Bet and Tina is a lot of things went wrong at this wedding, and at the end of it they were both just like, okay, let's just walk away with each other. And I feel like that's kind of representative of their place in Generation Q. It's like everything has kind of like gone wrong. Like they haven't been handled in the best way, and yet it's okay. You know, they still have each other and they're walking away. Stronger than before. So I kind of feel like art was imitating life. Oh, okay. So yes, I just found the finale a little bit weird. I'm not shocked that the finale was bad. I am disappointed that they didn't. The focus wasn't on Bet and Tina this episode as it should have been. I am disappointed about that. I at least expected a decent portion of this episode to be dedicated to them. You know, it was supposed to be a celebration of their love. It was supposed to be a celebration of one of the most iconic lesbian couples that we've ever seen on screen. That's what it was supposed to be, and they mean so much to so many people, and they mean so much to each other, and this episode just didn't do them justice. Okay guys, so those are my thoughts on the finale. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. If you want to support lesbian content and women's voices, come and join the Sapphic Underground Club. Just come and join it. It's kind of like a monthly tip, you know, and do I deserve it? Probably not, but I want your love. I do. Okay, bye.